CrowdStrike just released their Q4 earnings and they just did something that no other cybersecurity software company has ever done. They crossed $5 billion in annual recurring revenue. Now, the company is positioning itself as something much bigger, which is an AI-powered cybersecurity platform. So the question now isn't whether they are the dominant cybersecurity player in the space. It is how fast they can reach $10 billion in revenue and reshape the entire cybersecurity industry. So in this video, I'm going to break down to you what actually happened this quarter and whether CrowdStrike can realistically double their revenue from here. Now, this quarter was a blockbuster quarter for CrowdStrike where they reached their $5 billion milestone. And in this quarter, they also set all-time company records for net new ARR and profitability. So when we look at the numbers, right, you can see that for free cash flow, they delivered 1.24 billion. And more importantly, their subscription gross margin is at 81%, which is a record high. So the significance lies less in their revenue and more in the acceleration of net new ARR. So ARR stands for annual recurring revenue. Now, what does this suggest? This suggests demand expansion in their products. And this 81% subscription gross margin of them achieving at a record high, it reinforced that their architecture remains structurally efficient despite them scaling and acquiring new companies. So in cybersecurity, right, gross margin durability is often the earliest sign of platform integrity and how well they actually integrate new solutions. Now, we can also see that more customers are embracing their platform. So what does the 6, 7, and 8 modules means? Just think of them as services in their Falcon platform. So initially, people were using 5 services and then they were upgrading and adding more and more services. So you can see that what we monitor from this is how this percentage of customers using the platforms and the modules are increasing over time. So you can see back 1 year ago in January 2025, right? Customers that adopted 6 plus modules were 48%, 7 plus were 32%, and 8 plus were 21%. And we can see 1 year later, this module adoption rate has increased as well. So this is a good sign. It tells us that more customers are using more of their solutions and they are selling more to existing customers. So this is a very strong sign that their products are making customers very satisfied and they want more of it. Now, one of the biggest concerns heading into this earnings call was, of course, the launch of Claude Security, where we saw a bulk of cybersecurity companies sell down when this was announced immediately. And so the markets were watching how George Kurtz, the CEO, is going to respond to this. So let's take a look at how he addressed that. Now, what he said is that the market is now questioning enterprise software role in the agentic world, which is CrowdStrike. And it is moments like this where opportunity is created. And what I found very interesting is the last part where he said that in the same way we anticipated the cloud revolution. So just for context, CrowdStrike was actually one of the first few that was built fully on the cloud as a cybersecurity company. And he continued on by saying that we pioneered and built for the agentic revolution. So later on, I will share with you something that shows you on how they actually pioneered and built for the agentic revolution. But based on what he said, you can see that they are well positioned, even though despite whatever new tools are coming out every day. And so let's look at what he said next. And what he said that what they describe is they have a proprietary network effect built on this thing called the cyber reinforced learning from human feedback, or what they call RRLHF. This is a mouthful. But basically what it means is that unlike general purpose large language model providers, CrowdStrike will train its AI models on expert labeled data generated by real-world incident responder and threat hunter. So it is in real time. Imagine that whatever new threats that they face, new data that they get from these threats, it will immediately train its AI model to make it better and better so they can understand better and prevent these kind of threats. So this creates a very, very powerful economic moat or competitive advantage in a company. Why? Because the data is proprietary and this kind of labeling is expert driven. It is by their own AI agents. And this feedback loop, right, is operational, not like academic. It's not educational, like trying to improve. It's literally based on the company's operation, customized to the threats, to the things that they usually face. So you can see that this is what they shared about it. And in addition to it, what the George Kurtz also said is that as our data improve, our platform evolves. And as our experts validate outcomes, their AI agents get better, like what I shared. And this is a flywheel and network effect that no one else in cybersecurity at our size has and our scale, right? So you can see that their advantage come from what they call a data flywheel, which means that the more customers use their platform, the more cyber attack data that they collect. So that data will train their AI model, while security experts will validate the results, making the system smarter over time. So when you have better AI, it means better protection, which means it will attract more customers, and the cycle will keep repeating. So that is that network effect that he's talking about. And it will strengthen their ability to stop breaches. Now, I shared earlier about sharing how they pioneered their AI revolution, right? The agentic revolution. Now, I want to share with you about this thing that they created. It's called Charlotte AI. But it's not only about Charlotte AI, it's about when they actually created it. May 30th, 2023, close to 3 years ago, before what we are seeing today. Now, this is proof that you can see that they are far ahead of the curve, right? Right at that point when the market was just learning about AI agents. In fact, not even AI agents, large language model like ChatGPT just came out. You can see that CrowdStrike immediately, they were on their toes and they created Charlotte AI. And what do we see the usage of it now is that Charlotte as the flagship agent, and now in addition to that, they have 10 other agents representing specific security skills and roles within security teams. And this is more than just a simple chatbot function. And more than that, they also saw Charlotte usage actually soared more than 6% year over year. So in my opinion, you can see that this is a fundamental shift from AI as just an interface for them to AI being an operator. And if we see execution holes, CrowdStrike is definitely evolving from just a security vendor to this autonomous security platform. Now, I also want to touch a bit on Falcon Flex. This is what they also shared. So Falcon Flex has transited from this kind of experimental pricing model to their go-to-market engine. So the key development here is what the management call the reflex effect over here. Let me highlight right over here, the reflex effect. So you can see that for Falcon, right, they actually grew 120% year on year, the Falcon Flex. And 23% of the Flex customer base have actually reflexed. That means they expanded their commitment, right? Like how you saw the module adoption. Basically, they are adopting more of CrowdStrike's products. And the average ARR live after the first reflex is about 26%, right? So that is proof that their land and expand model for the Falcon Flex, it is actually proving to be successful. And it is now quantified. And take note that they have a lot of customers. And right now, for Flex customers, it is slightly more than 1.6K. And remember that they have more than that. No? They have over 20,000 customers. And if we see the conversion of the remaining 20,000 customers move to Flex, this could mean organic expansion and could drive more than $2 billion in incremental annual recurring revenue. Now, over the past few years and months, we've also seen CrowdStrike widening its moat through both acquisition and organic launches. And they are not only just bolting acquisitions onto their platform, they are building what the management call a continuous identity platform. So, for example, the first one, Signal AI, it actually helps companies to find important risks or news from the internet. The second is Seraphic. Seraphic actually protects employees when they use the web or any web apps. The next one is Pangea. Pangea protects AI system from being hacked or misused. And Onum, which helps security tools analyze huge amounts of data instantly. Right, so these are the acquisitions that they are doing, and we can see that they are integrating very, very well from how the subscription gross margins are. Now, there's a little bit of execution risk here, which is the management guided about 74 to $80 million in integration costs and expenses across all of this. So The thing about this is when there's multiple integrations into a company, there will always be some changes in terms of employees, in terms of who is doing which work and things like that. So simultaneous multi-acquisition integration is complex. It is complicated. So this single agent architecture that CrowdStrike is gunning for, it has to remain unified. And if there's any signs of fragmentation occurring, this is where they might actually risk their Falcon platform diluting. Now, the next thing is CrowdStrike also announced some strong partnership, and in this one, this is where they announced with Microsoft, where the Falcon platform is now available on Microsoft Marketplace. So they are deepening their partnership to ensure that their clients actually rely on the ecosystem. Now, partnering the hyperscalers is a very, very good thing. But again, it will accelerate their growth, but there will also be embedded platform risk. Okay, so this is something that we have to monitor, even though you can see that the 1.5 billion of total contract value on AWS Marketplace. So you can see now that they will move to Microsoft Marketplace as well. This is going to drive more contract value. Okay, so this is a good thing, but it has to monitor in terms of where they are, because both of these hyperscalers are in a way their partner as well as their competitor. Now, one thing that the management said is their future growth and target of 10 billion in annual recurring revenue as well as 20 billion. But of course, let's talk about 10 billion first, because it is much more nearer than 20 billion, as well as their target profitability model. Now, in my opinion, there are three structural levers that will allow them to achieve this $10 billion in ARR. Because when we think about a company wanting to achieve this goal, we must also think about what they share and the potential and the probability of them being able to reach this goal. Otherwise, it is just words that the management is saying. So, in my opinion, based on how these earnings went, there are a few levers that we can see that can help them to achieve this $10 billion in annual recurring revenue. Number one is their reflex multiplier. Like we saw the reflex growing at 120% year on year, right? Their flex platform and customers reflexing. So imagine as more customers actually start to reflex, that will add in a lot of incremental annual recurring revenue of up to $2 billion. The next one is, of course, organic expansion, right? Organic expansion and integrations through their new products as well as new acquisitions, right? As they continue to build themselves apart from just being an endpoint software to this autonomous security platform. As they get more people in, the product will become more stickier, and that will drive more module adoption rate for them. And last one is marketplace dominance. And that is where the partnership with the hyperscalers come in, right? They have already partnered with AWS, and now we saw partnership with Microsoft. So if they continue to partner with other hyperscalers, and not even hyperscalers, right? Other companies that are in the AI build out, right? That will actually drive more new ARR to them as well. So these are what we can see. And if you ask me, is it achievable? If you ask me, to me, I think it is definitely realistic based on what they have shared. And they are transitioning from just an endpoint security company, which is where they started from, to be more of a data and identity autonomous platform. And when we say autonomous, right, we are basically talking about them integrating AI agents such that their threat detection becomes faster, their product becomes more stickier, and enterprise will just be more embedded into the Falcon platform, right? And this 5 billion ARR that they achieve is not merely just a validation of their skill that they can scale. It also represents how they have successfully and strategically repositioned themselves into agentic AI-driven security, continuous identity and browser layer enforcement, and many of what they are providing. And the road to 10 billion, it is realistic, but execution must be seen, right? It's going to be intensive. So if integration remains disciplined, hyperscaler relationship becomes also remains balanced, and it benefits both parties, and we continue to see more AI adoption materialize as projected, that's where we can actually see them achieving that 10 billion ARR much more clearly. But as of right now, CrowdStrike is definitely well positioned to redefine the entire cybersecurity industry for the next agentic AI era. Now, that's all that I have for today's earnings review of CrowdStrike. Now, if you enjoy such content, if you would like me to review the earnings of companies, right? Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button because it will really help me to create more of such content for you. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.